My fingers ached from polishing the mahogany bookshelves in the study where Mr. Blackburn never noticed me. 3 hours of meticulous work, ensuring each leather-bound volume sat at precisely the right angle on shelves worth more than my entire year's salary. For 2 years I'd been invisible in this mansion, moving silently through rooms where powerful men made dangerous decisions. Isabella Hernandez, 26 years old, medical school dropout, now a ghost with a cleaning cart and desperate need for money. I watched Mr. Blackburn pass me daily without a glance, his tailored suits impeccable, his gray eyes cold as they swept over important documents. At 38, Lucas Blackburn controlled half of Phoenix's underworld with calculated precision. The other staff warned me never to speak unless spoken to, never to listen to conversations behind closed doors, never to acknowledge the bloodstains I sometimes scrubbed from expensive carpets. Follow the rules, collect the generous paycheck, survive another day. My small apartment in the East Side housed only necessities: a bed, a table with my mother's photograph, and textbooks from my abandoned medical career. Each night I studied, refusing to surrender my dream completely, while my mother's heart condition worsened in Mexico. The mansion itself was a fortress disguised as luxury, security cameras hidden in elegant light fixtures, guards patrolling manicured grounds, bulletproof glass behind designer curtains. Even the paintings concealed wall safes. Their combinations changed weekly. Mr. Blackburn's study became my assigned territory after Maria left suddenly, the other staff exchanging knowing glances when her name was mentioned. I learned the rhythm of his days, the hours he spent reviewing reports, the tension in his shoulders that signaled dangerous decisions. I noticed things others missed: the pill bottles suggesting sleepless nights, the wedding band he still wore 4 years after his wife's suspicious accident, the rare moment his mask slipped when looking at their photograph hidden in his desk drawer, the distinctive cars that arrived each Tuesday night, black SUVs with tinted windows belonging to the Rivera family from the West Side. Their leader, Victor Rivera, spoke with forced politeness, while his eyes calculated advantages, territories, and profits. Thursday evenings brought Mr. Blackburn's physician, Dr. Clark, who monitored a heart condition the staff pretended not to know about. The medication bottles increased, the doctor's visits grew more frequent, and whispers of weakness spread through rival organizations. What remained of my medical training recognized the symptoms: the slight tremor in his left hand, occasional shortness of breath, the pallor beneath his tanned skin when he pushed himself too hard. The mighty Lucas Blackburn was vulnerable in ways his enemies would exploit. I kept my head down, my voice silent, my observations private while moving through rooms where million-dollar deals were made and territories divided. My invisibility became my greatest asset in a house where seeing too much could prove fatal. The evening air felt unusually heavy as I finished polishing the banister in the main hall, the grandfather clock striking 9 with solemn precision. Through the window, I noticed unfamiliar movement near the garage, shadows shifting where steady security lights should illuminate empty space. My heart hammered against my ribs as I abandoned my cleaning cart, moving toward the surveillance room where Frank, the night security guard, monitored the estate's cameras. The shadowy figure had disappeared by the time Frank switched to the garage feed, leaving nothing but empty concrete. Probably just shadows from the trees, Frank muttered, but something felt wrong in my bones. The kind of instinctive warning that medical students learn to trust when symptoms don't align with textbook diagnoses. I returned to my duties, unease growing with each passing minute. An hour later, Mr. Blackburn strode through the front entrance, his phone pressed to his ear, conversation sharp and urgent. "Rivera's pushing boundaries again, testing our response time in the Harbor District," he said, voice tight with controlled anger as he reached for his car keys. My entire body froze as connections formed instantly. Rivera's men, the shadowy figure, the car that Mr. Blackburn now intended to drive. The unease crystallized into certainty with such force that I moved before thinking, abandoning years of careful invisibility. "Don't leave tonight." Every head in the entrance hall turned toward me, security guards reaching for concealed weapons, the housekeeper's mouth falling open in shock. Mr. Blackburn himself pivoting slowly to face me with those cold gray eyes suddenly focused directly on mine. "I saw someone by your car earlier," I continued, words tumbling out too quickly as I pointed toward the garage. "A figure crouching beneath it about an hour ago. They disappeared before security could see them on the cameras." Mr. Blackburn's expression remained unreadable as he studied me with an intensity that made me want to disappear. "You're the new maid," he stated, Not a question, but an assessment, as though seeing me for the first time despite my 2 years of service. Isabella Hernandez, I supplied, suddenly aware of how vulnerable my position had become by breaking the cardinal rule of invisibility. I've worked here for 2 years, sir. The silence stretched painfully as everyone waited for his response. Without breaking eye contact with me, Mr. Blackburn issued a command that sent his security team scrambling. Full inspection of the Bentley. Now, check for tracking devices, explosives, anything that doesn't belong. His voice remained level, betraying nothing of his thoughts. The minutes that followed stretched like hours as we waited in tense silence, Mr. Blackburn's gaze never leaving my face as though seeking answers to questions he hadn't yet asked. When Frank returned, his face was ashen, voice tight with professional alarm. Remote detonator attached to the fuel line, sir. Professional work. Would have triggered with the ignition. Something shifted in Mr. Blackburn's expression. Not gratitude, not yet, but recognition. It seems I owe you my life, Ms. Hernandez, he said quietly. The question remains, how did you notice what my trained security missed? Mr. Blackburn asked, ushering me into his study, a room I usually only entered with cleaning supplies, now invited as a guest. His security chief, David, stood by the door, expression tense with professional embarrassment. I notice things people don't expect me to see, I answered honestly, hands clasped tightly in my lap to hide their trembling. When you're invisible to everyone around you, you develop different ways of observing the world. The security team found additional surveillance equipment hidden throughout the property. Miniature cameras focused on entry points, sophisticated listening devices in the dining room where business was often discussed. The Rivera family had been gathering intelligence for weeks, plotting their strike with patient precision. Mr. Blackburn studied the evidence spread across his desk, face impassive except for the muscle tightening in his jaw. They've been more ambitious than we anticipated, he said finally, glancing at David. Complete security overhaul, starting tonight. I sat awkwardly as they discussed counter-surveillance measures, feeling increasingly out of place until Mr. Blackburn suddenly turned to me. Your background check mentions 2 years of medical school at Johns Hopkins before dropping out. Why didn't you continue? The unexpected question caught me off guard. Personal history I'd carefully avoided discussing since joining his staff. My mother's heart condition, I explained, surprised by his knowledge of my past. The treatments in Mexico cost more than we could afford on her teacher's salary. Something shifted in his expression, not quite softening, but a flicker of recognition. And now you clean my house instead of saving lives, he observed, his tone impossible to read, because you needed money more than you needed your career. David interrupted with news that Rivera's men had been spotted watching the mansion from a distance, clearly waiting for confirmation of their assassination attempt. They'll know soon enough it failed, Mr. Blackburn responded, his focus returning to me with unnerving intensity. You can't go home tonight, he stated flatly, cutting off my instinctive protest. If Rivera discovers you're the reason his plan failed, you become an immediate target, collateral damage in this war. The guest suite they prepared exceeded the size of my entire apartment, with silk sheets and marble bathroom fixtures that reminded me how different our worlds truly were. My few possessions were collected from my apartment by security personnel. My landlord informed I would be away indefinitely. Your mother's medical expenses will be handled, Mr. Blackburn informed me the following morning over breakfast, casually mentioning life-changing generosity between sips of black coffee. I've arranged for her transfer to Phoenix Memorial under Dr. Bennett's care, the best cardiologist in the Southwest. I stared at him, searching for manipulation behind the unexpected kindness, finding instead a complex calculation I couldn't fully decipher. Why would you do that? I asked finally, voice barely above a whisper. You saved my life, Mr. Blackburn stated simply, setting down his coffee cup with precise movements. I pay my debts. His phone buzzed with an incoming message, his expression darkening as he read the screen. Rivera had publicly denied involvement in the assassination attempt, maintaining the peaceful facade that had characterized their business relationship for the past 5 years. The tentative truce between families had allowed both to prosper, dividing Phoenix territories along clear boundaries that now threatened to dissolve into open warfare. Mrs. Wilson, the housekeeper who had managed the mansion for 15 years, showed me to a security room I hadn't known existed, hidden behind a bookcase in the East Wing. He wants you to observe the meeting tonight, she explained, demonstrating how to operate the surveillance equipment. 6 men gathered in the formal dining room that evening, Mr. Blackburn at the head of the table, Rivera flanked by his lieutenants opposite him. The tension crackled like static electricity as servants poured wine that neither leader touched. "Assassination is beneath us, Lucas," Rivera said smoothly, his perfectly tailored suit and gentle smile creating a facade of reasonableness that didn't reach his cold eyes. "We have agreements, boundaries, mutual interests that benefit us both." Mr. Blackburn's response was measured, revealing nothing of the fury I'd witnessed when he examined the detonator that would have ended his life. "Interesting perspective, Victor, especially given the device my team removed from my car, bearing your signature craftsmanship." Rivera's right-hand man, a hulking figure named Alvarez, shifted forward slightly, hand moving toward his jacket, until Rivera stilled him with a subtle gesture. "Accusations require proof," Rivera responded, smile never wavering. "The device contained components traced to your warehouse on Sycamore," Mr. Blackburn countered, sliding photographs across the polished table surface. "Unless someone else is manufacturing using your specialized equipment." The meeting ended in superficial pleasantries that barely masked the declaration of war, each man departing with forced smiles and promises of continued cooperation that neither intended to honor. I watched Mr. Blackburn's controlled rage as the door closed behind them, his mask dropping only when alone. 3 days later, one of Mr. Blackburn's lieutenants was found dead in his home, a clean shot through his bedroom window that security cameras failed to capture. The message was clear. Rivera had escalated beyond attempted assassination to actual execution. The mansion transformed into a military command center overnight. Additional guards patrolling the grounds, windows reinforced, vehicles checked hourly for tampering. Mr. Blackburn maintained his business schedule with deliberate normalcy, refusing to show weakness despite the growing danger. "You understand medical vulnerabilities," Mr. Blackburn said, appearing in my suite unexpectedly one evening. "I need someone who can evaluate physical weakness in Rivera's organization, someone he won't suspect because he doesn't see them. You want me to spy for you?" I asked incredulously, setting aside the medical journal I'd been reading. "I'm a maid with incomplete medical training, not some secret agent you can deploy against Rivera." Mr. Blackburn's expression remained impassive as he handed me a folder containing detailed profiles of Rivera's inner circle. "You're someone who notices what others miss, someone who sees patterns where others see coincidence, someone whose invisibility has become her greatest strength." The plan took shape with frightening efficiency. I would be hired as domestic staff for Rivera's elderly mother, an opportunity arranged through careful manipulation of the agency that provided household employees to wealthy Phoenix families. My medical background made me an appealing candidate to care for the aging matriarch, Mrs. Rivera's mansion in the hills overlooked the city with ostentatious grandeur, marble fountains glittering in the Arizona sun, exotic flowers imported despite the desert climate, artwork worth millions displayed like trophies of conquest. Her son visited daily, conducting business from her home office with the casual confidence of a man who believed himself untouchable. She takes lisinopril for hypertension, atorvastatin for cholesterol, and occasionally needs her rescue inhaler for mild asthma, I reported during clandestine meetings with Mr. Blackburn, detailing the medical vulnerabilities of the household. Rivera himself shows symptoms of untreated diabetes, frequent urination, increased thirst, mild tremors when his blood sugar drops. The trust of the Rivera household came more easily than anticipated. The invisible help always overlooked, always underestimated, always present during private conversations. I learned the patterns of security rotations, the locations of panic rooms, the weak points in their seemingly impenetrable defenses. At night, I returned to Mr. Blackburn's mansion, my strange new home where invisibility had been replaced with uncomfortable visibility. The staff now regarded me with cautious respect, uncertain of my evolving role in their employer's world. "Why did you drop out of medical school?" Mr. Blackburn asked during one of our evening debriefings. The question seemingly casual, yet weighted with genuine curiosity. "With your observational skills and intelligence, you would have made an exceptional doctor." I told him about my mother's first heart attack, about the choice between finishing my education or working to fund her treatments, about promises to return to medical school someday that gradually faded into resignation. His understanding surprised me, a glimpse of humanity beneath the ruthless exterior that his world demanded. Our planning sessions grew longer, professional boundaries blurring as strategies expanded from defensive protection to proactive strikes against Rivera's organization. I found myself drawn to the strategic brilliance behind Mr. Blackburn's calculated decisions, the protective instinct beneath his controlled violence. "We have a significant advantage," Mr. Blackburn explained, spreading surveillance photos across his desk. "Rivera believes you're simply the help. He doesn't realize his every weakness, every vulnerability, every secret is being cataloged by someone trained to see what others miss." The daily transition between worlds became increasingly surreal. Mornings spent in Rivera's mansion, observing his empire from within, evenings strategizing with the man Rivera was trying to destroy. The invisible woman now walking a dangerous line between powerful forces, carrying secrets that could get her killed. 3 weeks into my infiltration, I discovered something that changed everything. Handwritten notes in Mrs. Rivera's personal calendar detailing her son's medical appointments, with a specialist treating advanced diabetes complications. The condition was far more serious than his outward appearance suggested, requiring daily medication that would leave him vulnerable during certain hours. His episodes of hypoglycemia occur mid-afternoon, usually around 3, I explained to Mr. Blackburn, sketching the timeline of Rivera's daily routine. For approximately 20 minutes, his judgment becomes impaired, his reflexes slow, his decision-making compromised. Mr. Blackburn absorbed this information with clinical detachment that didn't quite mask the predatory calculation behind his gray eyes. A 20-minute window where the mighty Victor Rivera becomes human. Vulnerability we can exploit without risking civilian casualties. I should have felt disturbed by the coldness of his strategy, by my role in potentially facilitating violence, yet found myself invested in the intricacy of his planning. The medical student who once took an oath to do no harm, now providing the precise timing for a strategic strike. "Tomorrow night Rivera hosts his annual charity gala," Mr. Blackburn said, sliding an elegant invitation across his desk. "You'll accompany me as my personal guest, no longer invisible staff, but visible companion." The emerald dress delivered to my suite cost more than 6 months of my former salary, its delicate beadwork catching light with each movement. The woman in the mirror looked like a stranger. Transformation from invisible maid to visible power player complete, at least in appearance. Phoenix's elite gathered in Rivera's ballroom, crystal chandeliers reflecting off jewelry worth millions, while servers circulated with champagne that cost more than their monthly wages. I felt the curious glances, the whispered speculation about the unknown woman on Lucas Blackburn's arm. Rivera's expression when he recognized me was worth every moment of danger, shock quickly masked by forced civility as he welcomed us to his home. "Ms. Hernandez, what a surprising development," he murmured, his smile never reaching eyes that promised future retribution. Mr. Blackburn's hand pressed protectively against my lower back, his message unmistakable to everyone watching. "This woman is under my protection. Isabella has many talents beyond household management," he replied, voice deceptively casual while establishing my new status. The evening proceeded with excruciating politeness, overlaying deadly intent. Business rivals performing civility while plotting each other's destruction. I observed Rivera's subtle tremors as his afternoon dose of medication wore off, mentally calculating the window of vulnerability. When gunfire erupted in the garden, shattering the carefully maintained illusion of peace, Mr. Blackburn pulled me behind a marble column with practiced efficiency. Rivera's security team scrambled toward the sound, while guests screamed and scattered. "This wasn't our plan," Mr. Blackburn whispered urgently, his body shielding mine as bullets splintered wood nearby. "Someone else has entered the game, a third player we didn't anticipate." The Mendoza cartel from across the border had chosen tonight to eliminate both family leaders, capitalizing on their rare joint appearance to reshape Phoenix's power structure in a single bloody evening. Their gunmen moved with military precision through the mansion, systematically cutting down security personnel. "We need to move," Mr. Blackburn ordered, drawing a concealed weapon from beneath his jacket while assessing escape routes. "The panic room is 2 floors up, behind the library. Rivera will head there with his inner circle." We navigated through chaos, overturned furniture, shattered glass, bodies of security guards who'd been positioned without knowledge of building vulnerabilities that I had carefully mapped during my weeks of infiltration. The irony wasn't lost on me. Rivera's security compromised by the very maid he dismissed as insignificant. Rivera's mother lay crumpled near the service entrance, her caretakers nowhere to be seen, blood seeping through her expensive silk dress from a gunshot wound to her abdomen. My medical training kicked in automatically, fingers finding the pulse that fluttered weakly against her aging skin. "She needs immediate medical attention," I said, applying pressure to the wound while Mr. Blackburn scanned for threats, Hemorrhagic shock will kill her within minutes without intervention. Mr. Blackburn's face revealed genuine conflict. Save the mother of his enemy or continue toward safety. The Mendozas won't distinguish between families, he finally decided, helping me lift the unconscious woman. We either all survive tonight or none of us do. We found Rivera barricaded in his office with 2 remaining bodyguards, his face pale with fear and rage as we entered with his mother between us. "What have you done to her?" he demanded, weapon aimed at Mr. Blackburn while his mother's blood stained my emerald dress. "Saved her life for now," I answered, already searching the room for medical supplies. "She needs a hospital immediately, but first we need to survive the next hour. The Mendozas have cut off all exits." The temporary alliance formed from necessity rather than trust, 2 enemy forces combining against a greater threat, guided by my unique knowledge of both organizations and the building's architectural weaknesses. Rivera's diabetic episode had begun, his hands trembling slightly as he followed Mr. Blackburn's strategic directives. We moved as a unified group through service corridors I had memorized, evading Mendoza's forces through passages too narrow for their tactical teams. Rivera supported his mother while I monitored her vital signs, Mr. Blackburn taking point with deadly efficiency whenever we encountered resistance. "There's a maintenance tunnel beneath the east wing," I explained, directing them toward a hidden access point disguised as a storage closet. "It connects to the groundskeeper's building at the property edge. I discovered it while helping the gardener store equipment." Mr. Blackburn eliminated the 2 Mendoza gunmen guarding the eastern exit, his violence precise and controlled, motivated now by protection rather than power. The difference was subtle but significant, killing not from hatred, but from necessity. We emerged into the warm Phoenix night as explosions rocked the mansion behind us, the Mendoza cartel destroying what they couldn't control. Rivera watched his family legacy burn with hollow eyes, his empire crumbling while his mother struggled for breath in my arms. "The feud ends tonight," Mr. Blackburn stated as emergency vehicles approached, their sirens wailing through darkness. "We have a common enemy now, and survival requires cooperation, not competition. Phoenix rebuilt under shared leadership, stronger against outside threats. 6 months transformed Phoenix's underworld structure. The Mendoza incursion forcing Rivera and Blackburn into an alliance neither had anticipated. The competing organizations merged operations, territories integrated rather than divided, strength found in cooperation rather than competition. My mother's recovery under Dr. Bennett's care progressed beyond medical expectations, her color returning, her strength rebuilding, her future extending beyond previous prognoses. Her new apartment near Phoenix Memorial offered security she'd never known, financial concerns eliminated by the generous salary I now earned. Mr. Blackburn, Lucas, as he asked me to call him privately, created a position that utilized both my observational skills and medical knowledge. Director of Operational Health and Safety appeared on business cards I distributed to employees across both organizations, former enemies now under my unified care. "You've revolutionized our entire approach," Lucas commented, reviewing the comprehensive healthcare program I'd implemented for all staff and their families. "People work more effectively when they feel valued, when their well-being matters beyond their productivity." Rivera's mother recovered slowly, her gratitude manifesting as reluctant acceptance of the woman who'd saved her life while facilitating her son's lost independence. Her weekly medical consultations with me gradually evolved into something resembling friendship, bridges built between worlds once separated by violence. Our security protocols evolved beyond mere physical protection, incorporating psychological wellness checks for all personnel facing high-stress operations. The trauma of violence leaves invisible scars that threaten organizational stability more subtly than any rival family could, healing these wounds becoming as strategic as bulletproof glass. The balance of power shifted from displays of force to demonstrations of care, territory defended not through bloodshed, but through community investment that fostered civilian loyalty. "When neighborhoods prosper under your watch," Lucas observed, studying economic reports from formerly neglected districts, "residents become your most effective security system." The former maid who once polished silver now directed a medical clinic in East Phoenix, serving communities previously neglected by the healthcare system. Funding flowed from legitimate business operations Lucas established. Profits laundered not through shell companies, but through community investment. "We're building something sustainable," Lucas explained during a rare quiet dinner at the mansion that had become our shared home. "Power maintained through loyalty rather than fear, through mutual benefit rather than exploitation." His heart condition stabilized under the treatment regimen I monitored with professional diligence and personal concern. The medications organized neatly in his bathroom cabinet no longer hidden. The vulnerability acknowledged rather than concealed. Strength found in honest acceptance of human limitation. "I saw you that first day," he confessed one evening, fingers tracing patterns on my skin as we watched the sunset from the balcony. "Not clearly, not completely, but I noticed you even when I pretended not to. Something in your eyes that refused to surrender to invisibility. The shy maid and the ruthless mafia boss. Transformation neither could have predicted the night I warned him not to leave. The danger waiting outside had changed both our lives, recreating identities previously defined by limitations into something stronger through shared vulnerability. Rivera's organization integrated seamlessly with ours. Former rivalries dissolved through profitability that benefited everyone involved. The territory wars that once painted Phoenix streets with blood, replaced by strategic expansion into legitimate enterprises, real estate, healthcare, technology investments. My medical education resumed through online courses, hospital rotations scheduled around my organizational responsibilities. The dream I'd abandoned, now reclaimed with Lucas's unwavering support. "You saved lives before you had credentials," he reminded me when study schedules overwhelmed. "Now you're simply making it official." Thank you all for following this story. If you're enjoying it, write in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video, as your support is crucial for me to continue creating here.